China's facing a food crisis. There's one technology that's key to stopping the food apocalypse. But will corruption and ineptitude get in its way? What am I saying? This is China. Of course it will. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. China is gearing up for war. It's building up its military, improving energy production, and beefing up food security. Just in case China faces major backlash from the international community for, say, seeking reunification with Taiwan through force. And I say in case because considering how much other nations kowtow to China, I'm not 100% sure they'd face backlash. So as I've mentioned in a previous episode, the Chinese Communist Party's legitimacy depends on making sure it can feed China's population. So it makes the CCP nervous when China's farmland is in serious trouble. That's why Chinese leader Xi Jinping keeps saying over and over that food security is an important foundation for national security, and that we must reinforce the foundations for food security on all fronts. And yet, things aren't going so well for China. I don't know if I've ever said a more evergreen quote on this show. That should be the title of my memoir. Last year's droughts didn't help matters, nor did last year's floods, or all the horrible zero-COVID policies since 2020. But this year, things are even worse. China lost millions of tons of wheat right before the summer harvest this year. This was thanks to unusually heavy rainfall, which caused wheat kernels to suffer from pre-harvest germination, also known as sprout damage, and blight infestations. It was particularly bad in Henan province, which accounts for more than a quarter of China's wheat output. But other wheat-growing regions like Anhui, Hubei, and Shanxi had similar problems. As a result, this year's outlook is overshadowed by a 0.9% drop in summer yields, which is horrible news. Except for people with celiac disease on the Atkins diet. For them, it's just another low-carb day. Despite the food shortage, China also wastes a lot of food. At least 35 million tons of grain, or 5% of China's annual production, is wasted each year during transport, storage, and processing, mainly due to substandard methods. All that food wasted because of poor infrastructure. It's insane. In America, we waste food the proper way, with Jell-O-filled pools. China is passing laws to cut back on waste. Sorry, foodies, but food challenges aren't a thing anymore. Although considering how things are going, there might be a new food challenge in China, namely finding food. There's only so much land China can farm. China has a fifth of humanity on just 9% of the world's arable land. But there is a technology that can save China from famine. I'll tell you what it is after the break. Welcome back. Did you know China has far more people working in agriculture than the US, and yet produces far less? A lot of it has to do with American ingenuity, especially with seed genetics. US scientists have spent decades perfecting seed productivity and durability. China doesn't have that. For example, China produces only about 60% as much corn and soybean seed as the US. That's a gap the Communist Party wants to close. Xi Jinping said if the Chinese people want to hold their rice bowls firmly in their own hands, they must grasp their seeds firmly in their own hands. There's a joke I could make there, but I have too much class. So as with all problems in life, GMOs are the answer. But China has some issues with that. For one, Chinese people have an aversion to GMOs, which is strange considering all the crazy things in food over there. China's only recently given just a few biosafety certificates for certain GMOs and started changing GMO laws. But as of yet, GMOs are not widespread in China. Gee, I wonder why China would be fearful of genetically modifying something and the consequences that can come from it. But innovation is not so great under communism. So even creating these GMO seeds is hard. That's why half of all imported seeds come from the US. And what they don't get legally, they get through theft. According to a 2016 Greenpeace report, some Chinese farmers were allegedly illegally growing GMO corn with strains belonging to companies like Monsanto and others. And my heart bleeds for Monsanto, doesn't yours? To top it all off, China has a problem of, quote, seed-related misconduct. And considering all the affairs top Chinese officials have, there's a joke I could make about seed misconduct, but I have too much class. Apparently, corrupt officials, merchants, and farmers make illegal profits from grain and seeds by stealing from government subsidies and selling low-grade seeds as higher-grade ones. There's even a move to crack down on seed sector corruption by sending cadres into the countryside to educate farmers and flush out offenders. So China is on the cusp of a major food crisis. If the Communist Party can't sort it out, a widespread famine could spell disaster for Xi Jinping. And, for all the people who starve to death. But somehow I don't think Xi Jinping will be losing any sleep over that, or missing any meals. And China Uncensored is only possible because of support from viewers like you on the crowdfunding website patreon.com/China Uncensored. For as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the show going and get a bunch of cool perks, including being able to ask me questions I'll answer on the show. Today's question comes from Postum. Howdy, Chris. How are you and the China Uncensored team saving for retirement? Retirement? First of all, as long as the Chinese Communist Party is in power, we will never stop exposing it. But also, it just costs a lot of money to make this show. There's a team of writers, video editors, the cost of studio space and equipment, and of course the very generous taxes of New York on small businesses. On top of that, we deal with YouTube demonetizing us and throttling viewership by making it hard to find the show, not notifying subscribers of new episodes, or even secretly unsubscribing people. Which is why I'm asking you, if you like China Uncensored and appreciate what we're doing, please consider leaving us a little tip on Patreon. Even $1 an episode makes a huge difference, and you can always set a monthly limit. So let's just say, Postum, right now I'm more worried about keeping the show going than retiring. Thanks for your question and for your support. Thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.